Oh, damn. Oh, damn. I thought I had a whole bunch of perspectives I already gave you, okay? I talked to lawyers, I talked to legal analysts, I talked to everybody about P. Diddy. I even talked to my man Kevin Frazier about what the hell was going on with P. Diddy. But it don't get no better than listening to what Uncle Luke himself had to say, the one and only Luke Campbell. He about to be on the show. He about to be on the show. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk about Mayor Eric Adams. I'm going to talk about some NFL stuff. I'm going to talk about Georgia and Alabama going up against one another this weekend with my man Paul Finebaum. All that and more coming up. But forgive me for being excited because I'm telling you right now, Uncle Luke, I shouldn't have asked. I wasn't prepared for what the hell he had to say to me just a few minutes ago. You're about to see that conversation right here next on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Holla at your boy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do at the very least 3 days a week over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Before I go any further, let me take a moment to thank and show my level of appreciation for my followers and all of that stuff. We have now eclipsed over 855,000 subscribers. We continue to grow by the thousands every single day. Can't wait till I get to 1 million. Can't wait till I get to the 1 million. Hope y'all help me do that quick, fast, and in a hurry. Appreciate the love and support. Can't thank y'all enough. Keep it coming. And also remember to like and follow the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on YouTube. Just click the bell to get notified for all of our new content. And bam, you too will be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're doing that, please don't forget to pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes. It's now in paperback. Go to straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Once again, straightshooterbook.com. Let's get started with the federal indictment of New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Yesterday, a 57-page indictment was unsealed, charging Mayor Adams with bribery, solicitation of illegal foreign campaign contributions, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Most of the indictment centers on the Turkish community and Turkish businessmen who allegedly exerted influence on the mayor. More specifically, the feds say Adams received luxury travel and other benefits from a Turkish official and later pressured the New York City Fire Department to open a Turkish consulate building without a fire inspection in exchange. The indictment alleges illegal activity going all the way back to 2014 when Adams was Brooklyn Borough president. Here's a snippet of the charges in the indictment. Check this out on this full screen. For nearly a decade, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people and at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him, end quote. Ladies and gentlemen, this indictment comes from the Southern District of New York, the same organization currently holding Sean Diddy Combs in a federal jail until his trial on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. As for Mayor Adams, here's what his attorney, Alex Spiro, said in a statement issued Thursday morning. Quote, federal agents appeared this morning at Gracie Mansion in an effort to create a spectacle again and take Mayor Adams' phone again. He has not been arrested and looks forward to his day in court. They send a dozen agents to pick up a phone when we would have happily turned it in. Adams would face significant prison time if convicted, of course. First of all, to Mayor Adams' attorney, respectfully, sir, I see your point. I get your point. But does that really matter? We just had an attorney, an alum of the Southern District of New York on here just a couple of days ago talking about the Diddy case. And we learned that they get you over 80% of the time. So this ain't about how it looks. This is about what is. The government is coming after the mayor. Now, if you want to have an argument, you want to have a beef, you want to have a level of annoyance about it, okay, you know what? Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, allegedly, supposedly took gifts. What kind of legal issues is he going through? Donald Trump, we talk about him all the time, impeached twice. 34 felony convictions. The man is still the GOP nominee for the presidency of the United States. Favors, kickbacks, whatever. Some people may not want to hear that. Some people might look at it and say, this is not a big deal. This is much ado about nothing. Here's the problem. The Southern District of New York feels otherwise. As a result, the court system is going to feel otherwise, which means that the mayor could be in some trouble. It's not as definitive as Diddy in all of this, who's behind bars. It's not as definitive as that as of yet, but clearly it's one of those situations where Mayor Adams, he's in some trouble. So much so that I think one thing is safe to say, if former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, decides to run, as has been reported and insinuated over the last couple of weeks, if he does decide to run for mayor of New York City, I think he'd win. If Mayor Adams decides to run for re-election, assuming that his legal issues don't prevent him from doing so, he'd probably lose. That's what I feel from all of this. Outside of that, watch what you do. Watch who you do business with. Watch what favors you incur. Watch what favors you receive. Everything is getting messy. And remember this one other thing, ladies and gentlemen, for all of us, myself included, ignorance of the law doesn't excuse you from the obligations that the law provides. So you might not even know half the time you're doing something wrong. You better find out. You better find out. Or you better have a damn good lawyer in your ear who's letting you know in real time. Because it's gotten to a point when I hear the Southern District of New York, I damn near feel you are guilty. That's how scary these people are. Because they usually get who they're coming for. That's all I wanted to say about that. Coming up, Uncle Luke joins the show, the one and only Luke Campbell. We'll get into his reaction to Diddy and some comments he shared about Kendrick Lamar doing the Super Bowl halftime show. Obviously, that involves Jay-Z, of course. Also, Georgia and Alabama face off Saturday in the biggest game of the college football season to date. I'll get into all that and some other college football headlines with the one and only Paul Finebaum. That's next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Don't go away. Okay, everybody, you know what time it is. It's that time again. Guess what? Time for Stephen A. Sports Picks. It's no secret that I live and breathe sports. And now that the NFL has descended upon us, I can be right here in the middle of all that big-time action. But how do I do that exactly? There's only one way. I use PrizePicks, that's how. You see, PrizePicks is the largest fantasy sports platform in all the land with more than 3 million members. You just choose 2, 3, even up to 6 players and then pick more or less on their projected stats for the game. And the best part, you can pick and choose players from any of the sports you love to watch, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, Caitlin Clark, or Shohei Ohtani. And get this, sign up with code SAS and PrizePicks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need your lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on PrizePicks and you'll get $50 instantly. Now, let's see my winning picks, all right? Today, I'll be picking for this weekend's NFL games. First up, Atlanta Falcons running back Bijan Robinson going against the New Orleans Saints. More or less than 73.5 rushing yards. This is a bad brother right here. He can ball. And Atlanta really hasn't looked that bad. I saw them beat Philadelphia Eagles. I saw them lose a tight one to Kansas City. I know what that Atlanta-New Orleans rivalry is like. New Orleans is no joke, but neither is Atlanta, and certainly not this brother. I'm going to go with more on this one, Bijan Robinson. More than 73.5 yards. Let's go to the next one right here. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor playing against my Pittsburgh Steelers. More or less than 72.5 rushing yards. Look. Pittsburgh Steelers defense is real. It's legit. It's big time. But I could see how this could unfold. You, Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis, coach, you probably want to go out there flinging that damn football, okay? The Steelers going to do everything they can to shut that down. That don't mean you ain't going to get yours just a little bit in rushing the football, all right? And I'm thinking about Jonathan Taylor, the stud that he is. This brother could pop for 150, even 200 yards, but it ain't going to be against the Steelers. But 72.5 rushing yards, that ain't too much to ask. Do I see more here? Yes, I do. I'm going to go with more for him as well. Next up, Jaguars running back Travis Etienne going up against the Houston Texans defense, which didn't look that damn good last week against Minnesota, by the way. More or less than 47.5 yards rushing. Guess what? I've lost all faith in the Jacksonville Jaguars. This ain't no knock against you, Travis, because I know you could ball, but I can't even say the word more associated with the Jacksonville Jaguars unless we talk about more losses. They suck right now. I don't know what the hell is wrong with them, okay? And Doug Peterson going to be lucky to keep his damn job. They keep looking the way that they've been looking. They're going to start wearing bags over their damn heads for long. They better get their act together. I'm going with less on this one for Travis Etienne, okay? We're going to get that out the way. Last but not least, speaking of bags, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers. Running back Chuba, remember, Chuba Hubbard, not Chaba, not Chuba, Chuba Hubbard, playing the Cincinnati Bengals more or less than 61.5 rushing yards. I've lost faith in Cincinnati as well. But I never had much faith in the Carolina Panthers. I see Andy Dalton out there showing you what a quarterback is supposed to look like with his redheaded self. You understand? The freckles and all of that other stuff. Going up against the Bengals, I think that desperate times call for desperate measures. The Bengals are desperate to get in the winning column. They have received their medicine. The Carolina Panthers, I don't care what anybody say. They're awful. I don't give a damn about no win last week. I don't know what the Raiders was going on. What the hell was going on with the Raiders? I ain't blame Antonio Pierce, the head coach, for calling out his team. No way that was supposed to happen. I think things come back to earth for the Carolina Panthers this week, going up against a desperate Cincinnati Bengals team who hasn't won a game yet this season. And I think when you look at Chuba Hubbard, in this particular instance, I'm going to go with less. It's going to be less where he's concerned. So let's recap all 4 picks, all right? All 4 picks that I selected. Bijan Robinson, more. Jonathan Taylor, more. Travis Etienne, less. Chuba Hubbard, less. That's the way it goes, okay? You can't get more all the time. Most of the time is good enough. PrizePicks, more or less, you can find a way to win as long as you're making the right choices. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I couldn't wait to get to my next guest, a Miami hip-hop legend from the rap group 2 Live Crew. He's been on the show before, and I wanted him back to sort of recap the week of hot topics that have been percolating all over the damn world right now. Please welcome the one, the only Uncle Luke himself, Luther Campbell, a.k.a. Uncle Luke. What's up, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
Hey, man, everything's great, man. I can't complain, man. It's football season. And I, you know, it's a contact sport, baby.
I ain't mad at you. I know you know your football. I know you love your football, but I'll be damned if that's why I asked you to come on today. I mean, you know what the hell's been going on all week and all of this other stuff. I mean, just to recap everything, when you heard about Diddy and obviously him getting arrested, them taking him to jail, denying him bail, not once but twice, what went through your mind, Uncle Luke?
Let me tell you something. The first thing that went to my mind was the liquor company. When you saying that a liquor company that's paying you all this money, you know, $15 million or whatever it was,
right,
that they're going after you and you make racial claims against them. Well, those big type of corporations,
Diageo.
Diageo, they come after you.
Right.
You know, they come after you. If you're going to go into a court of law and think you're going to win a fight without them deframing you or making you look like the worst person in the world. You know, so that was the first thing that came to my mind, you know, just thinking that these people are so powerful and they're so politically motivated where they actually own senators who actually get on the phone and call up presidents and tell presidents to appoint certain people and certain department heads. You know, it's just real easy for them to get on the phone call and say, hey, look here, man, put pressure on that brother there. And I think that's what he got caught in.
So basically what you're saying is you ain't even attaching any guilt or innocence to him. What you're basically saying is he made the wrong damn enemies, and now they came for him.
He made the wrong enemies. I mean, he went and essentially did what our parents always say, never bite the hand that feeds you. And so now he's in a world of trouble, you know what I'm saying? I mean, let's think about it. Steve, We all have been to a bachelor party.
Right.
That was a bachelor party. I mean, you go to jail for a bachelor party. If you're gonna, I mean, let's keep it 100. So bachelor parties are technically illegal. Now, the thing that he did with Cassie, I originally thought California was going to take up that as a kidnapping. Now that is where the problem comes in at. But everything else, baby all, bachelor party, freak offs, whatever you want to name it. I mean, guys are setting up freak offs right now because they're getting ready to get married all over the world. So, and they're transporting girls in from different places who are going to be about that life. That's just the fact of it all.
What about the notion that, number one, let's take the video. Cassie Ventura is her name. That's his ex now. We saw on video what he did to her. What they're trying to say is that ain't the only person he's done it to. You're talking about violence against women, physical violence, etc. You're talking about, they're basically calling bad boy entertainment, implying anyway, it's a damn prostitution ring, that you got people coming up in there, whatever. Now, last time I checked in certain states, hell, we don't even know if prostitution is illegal. But what is illegal is drugging them without them knowing, et cetera, et cetera. It's similar stuff that they said about Bill Cosby, similar stuff that they said about Jeffrey Epstein, it's similar stuff that they said about Harvey Weinstein. What about the notion of comparing that in some small way, if not more, to all of those names I just threw out there, Uncle Luke?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the Me Too movement. When you have a movement in the world and people are moving certain type of ways, and all the people that you named off, all of these historic people who got taken down, that is the new thing. Hey, look, automatically they attach you to child pornography, underage individuals coming into parties and things like that. But in this case, I don't think I remember them saying anything about young underage kids. This whole thing of trafficking, bringing people, sex workers.
Right.
Those are the girls at the strip club. Taking them across county line or state line, that's illegal. I mean, I'm having a little problem with that one there because, again, people are doing that every day. Guys are going to Tulum, guys are going to Mexico, Cozumel, and going all over the world right now to celebrate their bachelor party, and they're taking the so-called now new name sex workers across county lines, statewide, and they're taking them around the country. So, when you get into the drug part of it, that is the problem. You can't drug girls. You can't do that. And take advantage of him. The thing that he did with Cassidy, that's on video, that's a problem. You can't do that. Certain things you just can't do.
I want to make sure, because I've known you for years, and I want to make sure I'm looking out for you here. I'm certainly not trying to imply nothing. I want to be straight up and down with this. You're basically speaking against the violence, because there's no excuse for that. You can't condone that. And the drugs, there's no excuse for that. But, meaning unknown, drugging somebody, they don't know it. But what you're saying is, shove that aside, and if there's not any truth to that, sex workers, you comparing that to poke to the strip club. You basically saying this stuff been going on all the time. You called it a bachelor party. If anybody would know, Uncle Luke would know. So I'm asking you, is that what you're saying? You're saying you don't want to hear that nonsense about sex workers and stuff, or they coming across state lines or whatever, because you're saying this stuff been happening all the time for decades.
Bro, this been happening for 100 years. Let's face it. But at the end of the day, man, I don't believe in, drugging women. That's out of the question, beating women, holding people against their will, doing all that wild stuff. Look, Steve, I can write a book on what to do and what not to do. You feel me? But at the end of the day, you can't do certain things. And if Diddy did do that, then he got to pay for it.
Did Diddy ever come to you for advice? Considering all these damn parties he was throwing, he did have a crib in Miami, not just L.A. Did he come to you? Did he come to Uncle Luke and say, yo, man, did he come to you for advice?
He didn't come to me for advice. I think what ended up happening is, which happens to a lot of guys, They moved down to Miami with the understanding of this big perception of what Uncle Luke has been doing for so many years down here, and they get caught up in Miami. They get caught up at Tootsie. They get caught up at Booby Trap. They get caught up at the office, and they think that's that's acceptable. And they get to the point where they say, okay, I don't want to go to these places and party with the dancers, so-called now sex workers. I want to have a party at my house. So I'm going to do it bigger and better than what they do at the club, or bigger and better than what Uncle Luca probably did. And then they go too far. And he probably should have consulted with me about the do's and the don'ts, because, again, at the end of the day, you get caught up with the wrong thing that you're doing at these parties. And hopefully the young fella have his day in court. And at the end of the day, justice will prevail one way or the other.
Damn it, Luke, Uncle Luke, what's the don'ts? You don't have to give me the do's. We don't have to give me the do's. We don't need to go too far. We don't want to get X-rated here. But what are the don'ts? I like for everybody out there, what are the don'ts that everybody should know you just don't do?
Sounds like you get ready to move to Miami.
Maybe. Man, I ain't throwing no parties, though. I ain't throwing no parties. But go ahead, man. Go ahead.
The don'ts are, one, you do not drug girls. Two, which should be number one, which is the number one, too. You do not bring underage girls into
anything,
whatever you want to call it, freak off or bachelor party or whatever you get ready to do.
You don't hit them. You don't hit them.
Number three, you don't take advantage of nobody. I mean, guys get creative. You got to have a wholesome party. You let the thing happen. Let it happen how it's going to happen. Let it flow how it's going to flow. You don't push the envelope and then start taking advantage of the beautiful women in there, because they know to do a job. Let them flow how they're going to flow. And that's how, that's the PG version of it. I can tell you, I'm going to have to be able to put you up on game.
And never, ever hit a woman. Let's make sure we say that. Never put your hands on a woman.
No, absolutely not. You don't put your hand on a woman, because at the end of the day, man, it's about having a good time. Having a party, but then now when people get too out of hand, whether it's the host or individuals who are in the party, then you got to then shut it down, or you got to tell them to leave. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the host get a little out of hand, and somebody has to be responsible. The host homeboy, hey, look here, man, we need to shut this thing down because you're getting a little out of hand with this, and you got to do it like that.
What kind of reputation did P. Diddy have in Miami? If anybody would know, you would know. Him, what kind of reputation did he have as it pertained to the parties, but also his reputation within the industry and within the culture? Because you would know the answer to that question.
In Miami, he virtually had no reputation in Miami. To be honest with you, that's why, you heard Drake do the record, hey, tell Uncle Luke I'm out in Miami too. It's because I called all of them out. I was like, you guys are living down here, you're moving down here, you're a part of the culture, you're bringing the girls in, you're dating out women, you're eating the food, you're rolling around. You need to be a part of the community. You know what I'm saying? You need to, go read a book to some of the kids in the community, be a little more involved instead of just sitting on the court side at the Heat game, and sucking up all the air. And so at the end of the day, me and him had that conversation. And that was pretty much the only time that I did go to a Diddy party, which was a New Year's Eve. I went in and went out.
Okay.
Because one thing I know, Steve, I know when to go.
That's right.
I know when to go. I know when to leave. So, we had that conversation, and he started getting more involved in the community, along with Lil Wayne. Them eventually they left, but that's just it. As far as the industry itself, he would have his parties at his house. Mostly people from around the country and not necessarily Miami folks, because Miami folks just did not feel that he was a part of the culture of Miami and he had embraced Miami like that. So it was more like a transplant.
With that being said, how are they feeling about him now? How's everybody feeling about him now in the culture?
Well, look, the culture, as far as the music business, man, I hate to see that, the things that are going on, especially with the young lady, Cassie. Seeing her get beat, that lady was a part of the music industry, the industry itself, for whatever it was. You just don't do that. A lot of people, when they give you a name and the kids that I coach say, no Diddy, when you get a label like that, and you become a sane no Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Like my end or whatever. That's hardcore. So as far as him and his reputation, is pretty much tarnished because he got to live with that for the rest of his life. The things that he's done, I don't see a comeback for him. I hate it for the brother because, again, I knew this brother when he first, linked up with Andre Harrell and Big and all them. And, me and Big, we rolled together
Right.
a lot. And so at the end of the day, I saw the things that he was doing. I mean, you know his story. I mean, his story, he promoted parties and people died, and all the different things that happen around him. But then to see him become successful, you cheer for a guy like that. You cheer for a guy like that. But to see him now being taken down, at the end of the day, he did it to himself. And a lot of people say it had a lot to do with drugs. And, when your head get a little too big, you got to be able to humble yourself.
By the way, you said don't do nothing with no underage girls. Let's add guys, too. Don't do anything with no underage guys because we hear a whole bunch of wild stuff. We got to throw all of that out. We got to make sure we cover ourselves, make sure all of that get mentioned, Uncle Luke. All of it gets mentioned. All of it.
Don't do it. Under no circumstances.
Under no circumstances. Now, let me ask you this. The man is worth over $500 million. What resonated with me, Uncle Luke, was, damn, they wouldn't even let him out. I mean, in a time where the economy is suspect in some people's eyes, you got inflation to deal with, stuff like that. The government seemed to be inventing ways to take some of your money. You understand, taxes and everything else. This man offered $50 million bond, and they said, hell no, we don't want it. That resonated with me. I'm saying, oh, damn. This is bad. They ain't playing. My belief, though, is they want him and a whole bunch of others, while some people would say they just want him that bad. The culture, what's the culture saying?
Man, the culture is saying something in the milk ain't clean. Something definitely in the milk ain't clean. And at the end of the day, it goes back to just like you say, Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein went in jail. Everybody knew he had cases on everybody. And for him to mysteriously die in jail, they're looking at it saying we can't make the same mistake that we made with Jeffrey Epstein. And if Diddy goes out, again, they allege that he did some witness tampering. He started calling up people saying don't talk to prosecutors and things like that. So that's one of the reasons why they don't want him out. But, that thing is suicide. That thing is suicide when your back is against the wall. They're really seriously looking at that. And then, if you got $50 million and you just sold a house for $18 million, you become a real serious flight risk at it as well. Mm-hmm. So, I wasn't surprised when they didn't let him out, but it's hard as fuck. I mean, to not let this man out, put an ankle bracelet on, I guess they feel like he's so superhero that they can't let him out, which is hardcore.
Staying on the culture, last question on this particular subject. What do you think this is going to do to the hip-hop industry, the whole music industry as a whole? You see cats resigning the day he was arrested. You're hearing news that others are going to resign and they're going to step away. You're hearing that Hollywood is on lock. Everybody's fearful. They could have just showed up to a party and still they might get implicated. What do you believe this has done to the music industry and to the Hollywood industry as a whole?
Let me tell you, for the exec part of it, and for those people who were in the in crowd, I never was in the in crowd. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, these parties went everywhere. These parties went on at Marcus Vineyard. These parties went on in LA. These parties went on in Paris. And you've had major executives that went to the party, and then if guys stayed for the after party, and they could be implicated into this whole bad movie. I mean, I can see guys, a lot of these executives, stepping down because, again, at the end of the day, on that level, people know things and are able to say things and say, look, you might need to step down. Us regular people, FBI director ain't gonna call us up and say, hey, look here, we coming for you. But for those people on that level, who are very politically involved, somebody made a call to somebody, in the words of Trick Daddy, somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that at the end of the day told somebody, hey, you might need to step down, man, because this thing getting ready to get real bad.
Suge Knight was on News Nation with Chris Cuomo the other night from prison.
How did that happen?
They called it.
You do an interview from prison?
Yeah, he did. Man, he got a podcast. He got a podcast for prison. It's called Collect Call with Suge. I'm not lying. It's not an exaggeration. He got a podcast. He got a podcast. My question to you is this. You know, how much should his words be taken seriously? I take it seriously. He say something about that world, I'm like, he got credentials to speak on that. He would know. But others are saying he's been in jail for 10 years. How would he know? Which line of thinking do you take when it comes to listening to what Suge Knight says about Diddy?
Let me tell you like this. You're still connected to the outside world. You know, some shape, form, or fashion, you know, guys don't supposed to have telephones in jail, but they do have telephones in jail. But then they get their 1 or 2, you know, calls, and they get it done. So those guys are still connected. But I listened to the interview just like you did. And I listened to certain things. When he talked about drugs and the industry drugging Diddy, again, a lot of my friends who know him real closely, you know, they said, yeah, he got consumed with the drugs. And so when you hear certain things like that from a guy that's incarcerated, that means he's really, really in touch with the situation.
Right.
You feel me? And so at the end of the day, you know, and a lot of other things that Suge said, I mean, the industry don't change. If you don't control the industry will control you. If you don't humble yourself, if you don't let it go to your head, then it will get you. It will eat you up. It will consume you. When you think you're too big, well, you can go and file a lawsuit against Diageo, the largest liquor brand. They've been around since Prohibition.
Own Ciroc.
Exactly. When you feel like you can go after these type of conglomerates, some got to your head, Steve. Something really got to your head. Drugs or something, or the liquor, something really got to your head when you think you that big, where you could take on that giant.
Well, listen, you battled people before. You battled the government before. Was you on something? I mean, you did it. Why? I mean, I can understand. Does it have to be drugs?
No. And listen, the government won't give me $15 million. If the government would give me $15 million, we'd have been, hey, okay, we'd have had a little conversation, but at the end of the day, I had to do it because of hip-hop. I had to do it. I mean, I looked at it from the standpoint of saying, look here, man, yeah, I got all this beautiful stuff, and at the end of the day, you know, they're trying to take our rights away. I had 3 cases, whether it was when my record was deemed obscene by a federal court judge, and then at the end of the day, I got parity, whether it was protected by the First Amendment, if I don't win that case. So I took it as a shot at hip-hop because people were doing it before me. You had Millie Jackson, you had Weird Al Yankovic, you had, you know, artists. I mean, you had comedians saying worse things than I said, and so I took it as a shot at hip hop. They're trying to stop it. You know, Tipper Gore, Al Gore White had this long list where we all were on the list, go after us and those things. And so it was going on during those times. I was like, look, I got to put my body on the line for hip hop. So, you know, I'll take quite a bit of my money and I'll fight so that these girls and everybody can do what they're doing right now today on the record.
Uncle Luke right here with Stephen A. right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airways of YouTube and iHeartRadio. Let me transition. You and I have a disagreement, Uncle Luke. I read something. Are you ready for this? I mean, we usually don't beef. We get along fine. You've always been good to me, Uncle Luke. But we got a disagreement right here. We got a disagreement right here. What was the problem with Jay-Z picking Kendrick Lamar instead of Lil Wayne? Well, what was the problem for the Super Bowl? What's the problem with that, Uncle Luke? Why?
I just knew you was getting ready to talk about my Cowboys, but
I saved that for last. I saved that for last.
Thank you for not.
Oh, it's coming up. It's coming up.
Let me say this, Steve.
Yeah.
You got 32 teams in the NFL.
Okay.
You got 32 cities in the NFL. You got the Super Bowl moving from city to city.
Okay.
Super Bowl is going to New Orleans. Super Bowl went to L.A. Super Bowl went to Miami. You know, it's going to other different cities.
Okay.
I mean, Kendrick Lamar, I love him to death. I think I love the diss song. I love all his music outside of the diss song. But at the end of the day, to have him perform at the halftime of the Super Bowl in New Orleans, home of No Limit, home of Cash Money, home of Lil Wayne, home of that whole movement. I mean, they did it right. After they did it wrong in Miami, they did it right in LA. Why not do it right
Okay. Let me come back at you with that. But first, I want to read the quote. Put that quote from Uncle Luke right back up on that full screen, please. He said, quote, "It brought up effed up memories of when the Super Bowl happened in Miami because I said something then and I called Jay-Z out for it. I don't look at it like a diss to Lil Wayne. I look at it as a snub of all New Orleans music. I look at it as snubbing Cash Money and No Limit and everything that New Orleans music is all about," end quote. Let me come back at you with that. I get where you're coming from. I understand. Here's my issue. Yeah, you had Shakira and J-Lo in Miami, which, by the way, is not a bad visual thing for any of us to look at, okay? So let's get that out the way, okay? That's number one.
J-Lo is available, just so you know.
Oh, stop that. Here's the deal. Here's the deal, Uncle Luke. Here's the deal. In reality, man, most performers for the halftime for Super Bowl, they weren't from those respective cities that the Super Bowl was in. Now, it happened with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and them in L.A. My point is, that's not a normal circumstance. That was an anomaly. It happened then. And who's to say, all right, next year's Super Bowl, Lil Wayne can't do it then? You know, Master P and all of them cats that won it. I'm like, who told you that just because it's in New Orleans, that there needs to be New Orleans artists? That's why it bothered me when I saw Lil Wayne all emotional. I'm like, for what? You know, I mean, there's plenty of people that perform at the Super Bowl and they weren't from those cities. A matter of fact, that's 99% of the time.
But Steve, you gotta understand, you know this better than anybody. You know this better than anybody, how the world moves, how the world changes, how things change in this world. What they did in LA with the LA Super Bowl and all of these LA artists was absolutely beautiful. Everybody loved it. My point is this: you can have anybody if you want to do the Super Bowl in Tampa. You can have anybody if you want to do the Super Bowl in Jacksonville. You can have anybody if you want to do the Super Bowl in Nashville. You can have anybody if you want to do it in Arizona. You got all these places where you can have all these different artists at. But when you go to a city like Atlanta, when they went to Atlanta one time, there was a big problem in Atlanta, but then they didn't end up making it right. When you go to a city like New Orleans, after you set new precedent in LA and you bring in another rap artist, Kendrick Lamar, who just, by the way, dissed Lil Wayne artist, into his hometown, Drake is Lil Wayne's artist, last time I checked.
Okay, I don't know, but...
You bring him into New Orleans, which again, I love Kendrick Lamar to death. If you're gonna do country western, Steve, okay, fine. If you're gonna have Garth Brooks do the halftime in New Orleans, fine. But you're bringing a hip hop artist into a hip hop city. You can't do this.
Yes, you can. Are you ready for this? Let me tell you why you can. First of all, Kendrick Lamar right now, the hottest shit. He's the hottest shit out. Let's call that what it is. That's number one. Number two, Lil Wayne, big time. I know what he's done. Mad love and respect to him always, all right? But in the same breath, sometimes your music, you gotta remember, it ain't about New Orleans. That's where it's gonna be, but that's not the audience. The audience is worldwide. So to me...
you telling me Lil Wayne is not global?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying at this moment in time, he ain't the hottest thing out. That's Kendrick Lamar. That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. Time out. Was Michael Jackson the hottest thing out? Was at the time?
Did you just?
Michael Jackson was always global because of the hit.
Hold it. You give me a heart attack. You give me a heart attack right now. Did you just ask me the question? Hold it. Did you just ask me the question? Was Michael Jackson the hottest thing out? Michael Jackson?
Listen. No, I'm not. You know, we talking about the king.
All right.
Same thing. Listen, and here's my point. Since I'm pushing back, here's my point. When they brought Prince to Miami to perform, that's a whole nother level.
Whole nother level. Whole nother
That's
level.
a whole nother level.
Whole nother level.
That's, you bringing Kendrick Lamar, who's equal to Lil Wayne in Lil Wayne City.
Got you.
That's my point. If you brought in Whitney Houston and Tampa to sing the national anthem, that's global.
All right.
That's global. There's no argument there.
Right.
If you brought in to Miami, if you brought in Beyonce over Shakira and J-Lo,
right,
that's global. Them little girls got to go sit down.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. I got you.
You guys on the same level.
I got you. Fair enough. Let me ask you this. What if Jay-Z had picked himself?
That's global.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
And if Jay-Z would have picked himself, this would have been the smartest thing he ever could have did.
Invited Lil Wayne with him.
He could have brought in Kendrick Lamar. He could have brought in Lil Wayne. And then he could have did some real Don shit, some real gangster shit, and say, fuck that. Come on, Drake, you coming too. I'm gonna put my arms around all y'all. Because yeah, we could have these beefs on records, but I'm the Don. All y'all gonna sit up here, we chilling together at the table at the end of the day. Would have been some gangster shit.
I'm telling you, right, especially if he would have opened up, hey, Mr. Carter, I am him. Oh, no, I got you. I feel you. I feel where you coming from. But let me say this to you. With all of that being said, right, what about the credit Jay-Z is not being given? Like Nicki Minaj got at me. I ain't want to go at her. I respect her. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to disrespect her. I was just talking about, you don't have to be in a respective city. I ain't trying to get no argument with Nicki Minaj. Cash Money and those brothers, I know them. I ain't trying to get nothing with them. Nothing but love for the Master P I've known for years. Certainly not. That's my brother. I ain't trying to get nothing with him. I'm just saying, what about y'all saying it's a disappointment, whatever, but going at him the way some of them went at him, knowing what he's done for hip-hop when it comes to getting them involved in the Super Bowl? Because you didn't see hip-hop artists performing at halftime of the Super Bowl until Jay-Z took over. What about the respect and the consideration that the brother has brought to the industry?
No, you gotta have respect for Jay. Jay is on the level of, any type of disrespect, you could disagree with iconic figures like Jay. You could disagree, but when you start disrespecting him, that's dead ass wrong. You know, you don't do that. Because one thing about that dude there, man, you get on the phone and talk to him. You can call him. He's approachable.
Absolutely.
He's reachable. You know, he'll have a conversation and he'll tell you his whole rationale behind what he's doing and how he's doing it. But at the end of the day, when you look at him, he's like the Michael Jordan of the hip-hop business. Mm-hmm. I mean, he kind of alluded to that in a couple of interviews when he talked about me, you know, doing what I helped the industry to do. But at the end of the day, that it's really him. He's taking the industry to a whole nother level. He's taking street guys like himself and all the rest of the street guys of the world who got into this business to clean their life up. And he showed a way that you can, you know, do the right thing. And for him to get any kind of backlash behind something like this, you know, you're dead wrong. You can disagree, like I disagree, but then at the end of the day, you can't hate, you can't get on social media talking about he this and he that and all that. No, that man has did so much for this business, you know, and I love him to death.
I got you. Before I let you get on out of here, man, because everybody got love for you, too. What you got going on with yourself, man? You always look out for me. You always coming on this show, dropping signs. Always appreciate you, man. You know you're always welcome on the show. What you got going on with yourself, man?
Hey, man, look, it's football season. So,
That's
you
right.
know, I coach football during this time of year, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, me and Will Packer, you know, we got together. And I'm just giving you exclusive.
Okay.
Will is going to do my movie.
Wow.
It's going to be done with Paramount.
Okay.
And so it's going to be major, and I can't wait for that to come out. But at the end of the day, just pounding the pavement, man, just pounding the pavement.
Keep doing that. That's going to be a big-time film. I know that much. You got your Uncle Luke. I'm scared. I'm scared about what's going to be in that content. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy. You know that, right? I mean, I know you know. You doing that on purpose. You doing that. When the hell is it coming? When the hell is it coming out, man? When is it coming out, man?
You You all right? Hey, we don't have to take you because we got to start shooting in. And I have another project that I'm working with LeBron on. I can't really talk too much about it,
All right.
but we're getting ready to go into production on that project as well. So, you know, I work with Spring Hill on one project, Warriors of Liberty City, and we partnering up on another one, which is going to be an incredible project.
I'm going to holler at you soon, man. Always appreciate you, my brother. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for coming on the show. I'll talk to you soon.
No doubt. Appreciate you.
No doubt. Uncle Luke in the house. Boy, that man is special. He crazy, but special. Special. Lord have mercy. I need a few minutes to recover from that interview. This bro is wild, all right? Coming up, Georgia and Alabama face off Saturday in the biggest game of the college football season to date. I'll get into that and some other college football headlines with my buddy, the one and only Paul Finebaum. Stick around. This is Stephen A. Smith Show. Back with more in a minute. I want to take a second to make sure everyone knows we're smack in the middle of the NFL season, and I couldn't be more excited. And with games being played Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night, PrizePicks wants to help you cash in on all that big-time action. You see, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app where you can pick two or more of your favorite players, and then you simply select more or less on their projected stats for the game. Pick a player's rushing yards, passing yards, total touchdowns. The list is absolutely endless. And the best part is, PrizePicks has something for every sports fan. Choose from the WNBA, MLB, MMA, even golf, for crying out loud. All in the same entry. I make my picks and submit early, all in less than 60 seconds, by the way. That's less time than it takes for Drake London to take a pass from Kirk Cousins all the way to the house. And get this, sign up with code SAS and PrizePicks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play as a $5 lineup on PrizePicks and you'll get $50 instantly. Pick more, pick less. It's really, really that easy. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. The biggest game of college football this season is going down tomorrow night when Georgia heads to Alabama. And I couldn't think of anybody better to break this game down than my buddy, my good friend, my colleague, the mouth of the South, one of the elite football minds in America. We won't get on the fact that he tried to get at me a couple of weeks ago, okay? Because we're still buddies. The one and only Paul Finebaum. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Stephen A., I mean, I don't know where I go for penance. I've caught more flack over daring to disagree with you on First Take. I don't know what. I'll spend the rest of my life offering confession.
I don't think that was the reason, Paul. I don't think it was that you disagreed with me. It's that you associated the word subservient to me when it came to talking about primetime Deion Sanders. I think that's what the problem was, Paul.
Well, I was trying to ignore that fact that I used that word, but I will still apologize. I respect you way too much. It was just one of those moments. You're on First Take. You're a little bit uptight. You're with the man, and you. I
got it. I got it. By the way, it was nice hanging in your studio last week sometime. Really, really nice studio setup you got there. It's pretty nice. Let's get to this game, Paul, because I've been waiting for this. I understand Nick Saban isn't there any longer, but this is probably the biggest game of the year so far as I'm concerned. Alabama versus Georgia. How big of a game is this for new coach Kalen DeBoer in your mind?
DeBoer, Stephen, as you well know, has probably done as good a job as I've ever seen in a transition. He lost 2 or 3 players first week, and since then he has just been throwing down darts like I haven't seen. And I think he's in good shape. And quite frankly, I think he's going to win this game because he's got Jalen Milroe, and I know that's another story in itself. Right. Jalen Milroe dared to disrespect you. And by the way, I was on the show that day. We'll get to that in a minute. But Kirby Smart's got the pressure on him. I think that's where all this pressure is because he just has been unable to beat Nick Saban in Alabama.
Why has he been unable to beat Nick Saban in Alabama, considering how great they were, particularly since 2020? Outside of 3 losses to Alabama, including two in an SEC title game, I think one for national championship, of course. Outside of that, we're talking about a university that's been 56-1 versus everybody else. What has been the issue with Kirby Smart going up against Nick Saban in the past?
Stephen A., I think there's just a little bit of tension for him. He's not relaxed. I mean, Kirby's never relaxed, but Saban just gets in his head. I've had Lane Kiffin tell me that he has blown the game against Alabama every time because he just lets Nick get into his head. You've seen it with the great ones. You're friends with Michael. He did it to almost everybody he ever played. Tiger Woods did it. And I think Nick Saban did that to Kirby Smart. Even though Kirby Smart beat him that one time in the national championship game, the loss last year may have been among the most costly I've ever seen. Now Kirby did lose to Saban on a walk-off,
Right.
to Devontae Smith in the national championship game. But last year, everything was on the line. He had a chance to do something nobody had ever done, a three-peat, and he just coached a little bit uptight, and Saban beat him. And after that game, one of Saban's top assistants told me privately that he thought Nick Saban was going to retire because he had stopped Kirby Smart from supplanting Saban really as the best coach in the land.
I guess what I'm thinking about when I think about Kalen DeBoer being the new head coach, this man has won 90% of his games at 4 different institutions where he coached, including a couple of national championships in NAIA competition, 2-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year, national championship game last year with Penix as his quarterback before losing to Michigan. This man has been highly successful or whatever. When you look at him, particularly in comparison to Nick Saban, knowing football, knowing the SEC the way that you do, how do you feel about Kalen DeBoer as a coach? The success of the Saban?
The only thing that has concerned me is his ability to deal with the culture. He's done brilliant work. In fact, at Washington, he's 5-1 as an underdog against top 10 opposition. He beat Oregon a couple of times. He beat Texas. I mean, he has really been masterful in the big game. The only game he lost was the Michigan game, and that really wasn't even a fair fight last year for the national championship. You probably were too busy hanging out with all the billionaires in the box to even notice the final score. We all saw you up there, but that's okay. But that's who he is. And the only problem I have, and it's not even a problem, is what happens if things go haywire. I've lived in that state a long time. I'm not there anymore, but I spent 30 years in Alabama, and there's nothing quite like an Alabama team losing on the next Monday. The place literally is in mourning, and the pressure starts to build. He hasn't had to deal with that yet.
We look at Ohio State and Michigan and we say, if you're Ohio State and you're Ryan Day, you got to beat Michigan. Where before Harbaugh started beating them over the last 3 years before he walked back to the NFL, we like, you got to beat Ohio State. Is that the situation between Georgia and Alabama, specifically when it comes to Kirby Smart and Georgia at this particular juncture in his career?
Yeah, that's the biggest rivalry right now in the SEC. These two have played for the national championship, not playoffs, not SEC. They played for the national title twice since 2017. That's 2 teams from the same league. And Kirby has mastered the game, but he's not been able to master this. And the only thing I'll offer that in this particular year, it won't matter as much. Smart has not lost a regular season game since Florida in October of 2020. That was the COVID year.
Wow.
I mean, that's unbelievable, Stephen. He's lost those 2 SEC championship games, and that those have hurt. But he's been masterful. But if he loses this game, it's not done. But he's in trouble because he still has to go to Texas on October 19th. He still has to go play Lane Kiffin in Oxford. Those are no easy games.
When we think about Carson Beck, I've seen the kid play. He can ball, make no mistake about it. I like what I see from him. How good is he? What are his prospects looking like, considering the next level and what his capability is at Georgia?
A month ago, I had people telling me he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I haven't heard anybody say that in a while because he just has not looked good this year. He looked very tentative. He has one of his top offensive linemen hurt, but everybody goes through that. So he's been a little bit shaky. He hasn't been terrible, but in the Kentucky game, he was off. And by the way, everybody talks about, well, that defense really only held Kentucky to 12 points. If Mark Stoops, the Kentucky coach, had gone for it with 2 minutes to go on 4th and 8, there's a good chance Kentucky would have won that game, and this conversation would be upside down right now. But Beck has to get better. He doesn't have Brock Bowers as his tight end anymore. That guy was generational, Stephen. One of the best tight ends we've ever seen in college football. He misses him. He's got some great running backs, including ETN over from Florida from last year. His brother obviously plays in the NFL, but they've got to get in rhythm, and they have been so slow to start games. I mean, they were only up by Clemson in the first half, I think 6-0. They did the same thing against Kentucky. If they start like that Saturday night, they're going to lose this game.
Alabama's averaging 49 a game this season thus far, but their stiffest competition was against the likes of Wisconsin, and we saw how that ended up. What are we to make of what we've seen from their offense thus far under Kalen DeBoer?
They've been great. Not only that, Alabama has a couple of new weapons, especially at running back. Haynes, a freshman. They don't quite have the wide receivers that they have had in the past, but Jalen Milroe is such an elusive player. He's not the most accurate passer, but he throws one of the best long bombs of any quarterback I've seen in college football right now. He just sometimes makes poor decisions under pressure.
It's interesting you bring him up. He showed up on First Take. I was on vacation. You were there with him. And he's sitting up there doing social media hits where, Stephen A., I'm looking for you. You called me out. And I'm going like this. I like the brother. He can play. He's not a scrub. He's an incredible athlete. I give credit where credit is due. But Bryce Young spoiled me watching him at Alabama. And you're succeeding this brother, and I'm watching you throw with inaccuracy on many occasions last year. How dare he have his back up over such a thing that I may have said at that particular moment in time, even though I know I give him credit later on in the season. What did you feel about Jalen Milroe before compared to how you feel about him now, Paul Finebaum?
I want to address that because I was on the show that day and I was interviewing him, and I later found out, Stephen, I'm not trying to out anybody, but I'm going to. You know who was the instigator that day?
Who?
It was Jay Williams. Jay Williams was hanging around with Milroe. He's doing some work for him, and I have impeccable sources that Jay Williams put him up to dissing you. So I'm not trying to cover for my good buddy Jalen Milroe, but if you got a beef with somebody, you ought to take it up with Jay, not Milroe.
How about that? But how do you feel about him? How do you feel about Milroe compared to what you thought about him last year?
I like him a lot, but and here it comes. He makes me uncomfortable sometimes because of his decision making. And you were right, what you said. He's put Alabama in some very awkward positions because of that. He's gotten away with it most of the time. Now, you saw in the Michigan game, he made some big mistakes, especially now I'm not going to blame him for that final play. That was a boneheaded call from the former offensive coordinator to think you could just run the ball up the middle on a brick wall defense like Michigan. But ultimately, he can lose a game for you, and that's what Kirby Smart is thinking about right now in relation to Saturday night.
Let me transition to one of the biggest stories going on in college football this week. We talked about it earlier in the week in our day job on First Take, my day job on First Take. We're definitely going to talk about it now. At UNLV, Las Vegas, quarterback Matthew Sluka left undefeated Rebels on Tuesday over claims of an unpaid verbal NIL promise of $100,000 from a UNLV assistant coach. The quarterback's father, Bob Sluka, told ESPN that head coach Barry Odom later said in a phone conversation the offer wasn't valid because it didn't come from him. UNLV had this to say in a statement, quote, football player Matthew Sluka's representative made financial demands upon the university and its NIL collective in order to continue playing. UNLV Athletics interpreted these demands as a violation of NCAA pay-for-play rules as well as Nevada state law. UNLV does not engage in such activity, nor does it respond to implied threats. UNLV has honored all previously agreed upon scholarships for Matthew Sluka, end quote. Paul, take it from there. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's why people hate lawyers, because we know that was written by an attorney. It was really a disgraceful comment. I mean, they offered him the money. They got him to leave Holy Cross to go out there, and he's a really good quarterback, Stephen A. And this is over $100,000. Now, in everyday life, $100,000 is a lot of bread. But in college football right now, it is not. There are second string defensive tackles making more than that in the Big Ten and the SEC. And you think about all they had to do. Let's say they coughed up the $100,000. You talk about that versus the publicity that they're getting. I mean, they were a featured story today on First Take. they're here on your show. That equals billions of dollars of bad pub. Because why would any player in their right mind go play for Barry Odom at UNLV right now?
That's exactly how I feel. I think they were absolutely silly to take this public the way that they did and to conduct themselves the way that they did. And why would you want to go play for the program? If I'm a player, I wouldn't think about playing for the program. Last question here. Alabama, Georgia, who you got? What score?
I like Alabama. And I can't lay the game out for you. I think Georgia will start off slow. I think Alabama could be very explosive. I see them getting a reasonably good lead. I think Georgia might come back. But that -2 that Georgia's favored by, I know a lot of my friends in Alabama are jumping all over that, and I don't blame them.
I don't know if you noticed, my man Deion Sanders, prime time, Colorado. I mean, 3-1 on the year. 3-1 on the year. I mean, they're going against UCF. I know they're going to have some problems. I mean, it's going to be a big deal, but I'm just wondering, Paul, how you feeling about that right now? How you feeling about the job that prime time is doing right now, Paul Finebaum?
Yeah, I may be begging you to, with my hat in my hand in a couple of weeks, saying, Stephen A., can you get me an audience with Pope Dion, because I need to get down on my knees and say I'm sorry.
Right. Okay. I'm going to hold you to it. Paul Finebaum, appreciate you, buddy. As always, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stephen A.
All
Pleasure.
right. One and only Paul Finebaum right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Coming up, WNBA playoff action is in full swing. I'll get into the elimination of Diana Taurasi and Caitlin Clark ahead. Also, did you hear what a 5-time WNBA All-Star Alyssa Thomas said about Indiana Fever fans? I'll get into all of that and more. Don't touch that dial. Don't go anywhere. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Coming right back at you in a minute. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube on Wednesday night. Let's transition. Diana Taurasi walked off the court in what might have been her final appearance in the WNBA as the Lynx eliminated the Mercury with a 101-88 win. If Taurasi decides to retire, it would be the end of an incredible 20-year professional run, one that few athletes in basketball history have ever seen. Let me tell you something. She's one of the great ones. She's one of the great ones. She's a champion on every single level. I don't have enough time to show you. You'll see the screen right there. 3-time WNBA champion, all right? 2-time WNBA Finals MVP, 5-time, 6-time Olympic gold medalist. She's phenomenal. She's just phenomenal. Whenever she walks away, she's a legend. She's a Hall of Famer. She's all that in a bag of chips, okay? I love Diana Taurasi, and I'm going to miss her. Thank you for the wonderful years you have given us. That's all I got to say about that. Let me transition to the next subject, because meanwhile, in Taurasi's old Connecticut stomping grounds, Caitlin Clark's season with the Indiana Fever ended with an 87-81 loss to the Connecticut Sun in Game 2 of their first-round series. Afterwards, 5-time WNBA All-Star Alyssa Thomas did not hold back when discussing the abuse she faced from Indiana Fever fans. Take a listen.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. It's unacceptable, honestly. And yeah, there's no place for it. And we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it.
Let me say this. I would encourage everybody to refer to Thursday morning's episode of First Take on ESPN, where Janae Ogumike, who is an outstanding basketball analyst for the network and also a former WNBA player, former WNBA Rookie of the Year, by the way, she's friends with Alyssa Thomas and went out of her way to highlight how on the court, as ferocious as Thomas is, off the court, she's a quiet storm. She doesn't say much and doesn't bother anybody. And so for her to feel compelled to speak out in the way that she spoke out shows you how alarming what she was saying has really been and what attention needs to be brought to it. Janae Ogumike, listen to what she had to say. As far as Alyssa Thomas goes, you are a wonderful, wonderful woman. You are fabulous, and thank you for bringing up this subject. Because if you are Caitlin Clark fans, there's no room for any kind of racism. Now, I'm not calling everybody racist. I'm not calling most folks. But the few who are, you know who the hell you are. Calm the hell down. Support Caitlin Clark, because recognize that when you act that way, you stain her name as well because of your association to her. Not that anybody would think that she thinks like that. But the point is, what is your problem? She is a phenomenal, phenomenal talent. and an even better person. I happen to have met and did an event with Caitlin Clark. I think she's wonderful. You don't have to act that way, particularly when you're a fan base that represents her. And if you are from the city of Indianapolis, if you are in Indiana, I will remind y'all years ago, Allen Iverson complained about the same thing. What he heard from those fans. She does play for the Indiana Fever. So you need to safeguard yourself from having or developing that kind of reputation. I love going to Indiana to watch games because I think it's an absolute great fan base. But you got to know how to act. You got to know how to act. I'm just going to leave it at that. Before I respond to your tweets, let's get to some quick NFL hitters, all right? Because I want to get some of this stuff out of the way. Vikings, Packers this weekend. We'll start in Green Bay, where the status of Jordan Love may be overshadowing the return of running back Aaron Jones to Lambeau Field. It appears that Love is trending towards a return after a 2-week absence to face the 3-0 Vikings. You'll need him, because I can't believe I'm saying this. Sam Darnold has looked hellacious. Justin Jefferson is that dude, and Addison and Hockenson haven't even been there. Minnesota is a team to be reckoned with. We're about to find out what Minnesota and Green Bay are both made of with a matchup like this. On our next revenge game is going to be Bengals, Panthers, where Andy Dalton will face his former team after replacing Bryce Young and throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a win last week in Vegas. Meanwhile, the season is on the brink for Joe Burrow's 0-3 Bengals. Do y'all know that from September through October, Joe Burrow is an under 500 quarterback? It's like 21-23-1, something like that. This is a man in the 2 full seasons out of the 4 years, in the 2 full seasons when he was fully healthy. They were in the AFC Championship game both times, and they were in the Super Bowl one time. Joe Burrow can be that dude, but thus far, it's a problem. It's a problem. I think it's primarily their defense. I think it's primarily their coach, Zach Taylor. Why the hell ain't your teams ever ready at the beginning of the season? I understand you show up in November, December, and in some cases, January. What the hell happened to September and October? You coached then, too. Why are they not prepared? Zach Taylor? Just a question. Find the answer by this Sunday. Out in Los Angeles, Jim Harbaugh will get his first crack at the 2-time defending champion Kansas City Chiefs as the Chargers head coach. Justin Herbert, who left last week's loss in Pittsburgh with an ankle injury, says he, quote, he will do, quote, everything he can, end quote, to play this week. I'm going to say this to you. The Chiefs haven't looked great. Isaiah Pacheco's out. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's out. Hollywood Brown is going to be out till January, according to reports. They got a rookie at wide receiver with Xavier Worthy. Rasheed Rice has elevated to a number 1 receiver. Travis Kelce has been criticized. You got people like former ESPN college football analyst Todd McShay talking about Travis Kelce was busy out partying too much throughout the offseason, particularly with Taylor Swift. I will remind you, this is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. I will remind you, this is one of the greatest tight ends in the history of football. He hasn't played like it the first 3 games of the season, but coming into the season, we were considering him the best tight end in the business. I'm not sleeping on Travis Kelce. I'm not thinking he ain't going to get it done. But what I am going to remind him of is the offseason's over. My brother, part of the reason Taylor Swift was interested is because you're a pretty fly brother who can ball. And the fact that you're a champion ain't hurt. Just a thought to remind you. Winners usually strike gold. You feel me? Last but not least, Sunday night NFL football, AFC showdown, Buffalo Bills at Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is balling out. League leader in total touchdowns, all right? No turnovers, passing yards, all of this stuff. Josh Allen is balling. Stephon Diggs is no longer there. It don't matter. He throwing to 6, 7 different dudes. He don't give a damn because he Josh Allen. Buffalo is no joke either because they ain't beating opponents. They stomping them. What you going to do about that, Baltimore? You 1-2 on the season. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Derrick Henry. You got a Baltimore Ravens team with that defense. They should be able to do some things. What's the problem? I know you lost a few assistant coaches and your defensive coordinator is now the head coach in Seattle. I get all of that. But damn it, you in the AFC Championship game. You got the two-time league MVP in Lamar Jackson. Nobody wants to hear those excuses. Baltimore better handle their business. I think they're going to win this game because it's pure desperation. But what if they don't? And they fall to 1-3. Something to think about. Something to think about. Now let's go to the screen and look at some of your tweets before I get on out of here for the day. I want to check this out right here, okay? First up, at Nick's Show, yo. Stephen A. Smith, will Derrick Rose be a Hall of Famer? No. No, he won't. That saddens me because the only reason that is the case is because of injuries. Derrick Rose is one of the greatest talents at the point guard position we've ever seen in NBA history. The only person that ever rivaled his athleticism was Russell Westbrook. And he got the nasty knee injuries that derailed him because Russell Westbrook's a future Hall of Famer. Derrick Rose was better than Russell Westbrook. Spectacular, absolutely spectacular. But the injuries derailed him. He rolled up into Chicago and he succeeded Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan was telling the Chicago Bulls fans, y'all gonna be all right because you got him. But he got hurt. And because of the injury, that's the only reason he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame person, though. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet on the planet. And a hell of a player. He just got hurt. That's why he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. Let's go to the next tweet, please. Give it to me. Stephen A. Smith, this is at X Sneeps, right? Stephen A., why don't you answer certain questions? Respectfully, what the hell are you talking about? Talk about a vague damn question. That is just dumb. Why don't you answer certain questions? What are the certain questions? I mean, I'm answering you right now. What are you talking about? I answer questions. Now, I don't get into my private life just like I don't get into other people's private lives. If something becomes public, you're on a police blotters or something like that, that's fine. But other than that, I ain't getting into all that nonsense. I don't play that game. You understand what I'm saying? I don't feed into all of that. I'm 56 freaking years old. Got time for that bullshit. But if you ask me a direct question, all right, that don't have me delving into somebody else's business or let you get all up in mine, then I'll answer your questions within reason. But when you say don't answer certain questions, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And to be quite honest with you, it's a very stupid question on your part because you didn't specify what I didn't answer, which means you wasted my time asking me a damn question that I don't know how to answer. Next tweet, what's up? At Jalisco Jr., right, Stephen A. Smith, how real are the Steelers? Ooh, the defense is real. Warren Najee Harris at the running back spot is real. Pickens is real. Fryermuth at the tight end spot is real. I'm not sold on Justin Fields yet. And I damn sure ain't going to be sold on Russell Wilson. I believe in Justin Fields. I think he's got potential. He's made some accurate throws. He's moved the chains with his legs. He can run with the football. It's nice to see a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers being able to run with the damn football. This is a dual threat. I appreciate that. But am I sold on them? When Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are in the same division? When Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and C.J. Stroud are in the same conference? No. But I am sold on that Steeler defense. As long as T.J. Watt is healthy and balling, I feel good. I feel good about our chances. Next tweet, last one. At Cham4142. Oh, my Lord, what is this picture? Stephen A. Smith, do you support love between a man and his anime pillow? Oh, my God. How am I supposed to answer that? Are you doing some things to the pillow? Are you doing some things to the pillow? Is it all fluffy and cuddly inside? Is that what you love about it? Does it wrap you tight and make you feel good? Are you stimulated by rubbing up against cloth? If you are, that would make you a very, very strange individual. And to that I say, to each his own. You ain't harming nobody by being in love with a pillow. I mean, I'm wondering about you. But you being in love with a pillow ain't harming nobody. And if it ain't harming nobody, why should anybody harm you or insult you? I'm not going to do that. I got to get on out of here, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Thanks again to the one and only Uncle Luke. Thanks again to the one and only Paul Finebaum. And of course, to you all for your tweets and all of that other stuff. I'm still trying to recover from you being in love with the pillow. I didn't see that one coming. But I'll recover. It's been a wild week. Hey, shit happens. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. Have a blessed weekend. Alabama, all day, every day. Roll Tide. See you.